morning, everyone. So today I'm going to do kind of a special video. It's something I think it's been requested several times now, and that is a lot of you have asked, if I could tell the story of how I ended up getting Thor. So we'll go ahead and do that today. Basically what I'm going to do, because I didn't get a lot of video early on, is I'll show some video of him playing out here in the yard, maybe throwing a picture here or there in some of the video that I do have. So you'll see it jump around a bit. But anyway, here we go. So it all starts in late 2013. I decided I wanted to get a dog. I wanted something large and active that had a lot of energy, something that I could help get myself back into better shape, go hiking with, camping with, do outdoor stuff. So the breeds I had in mind were the Siberian Husky, the Alaskan Malamute, or a German Shepherd. Those were the three I was kind of juggling around. There was actually a German Shepherd at the shelter that when I first saw her, I was like, wow, yeah, this is definitely the dog, had the right personality. She loved the kids because I had the kids with me. Go to the front desk to ask about her, and I found out that she was adopted the day before. They were just still holding on to her for them. So that fell through. I did end up looking at a couple of Huskies at the shelter that were older. So the only issue with those two is they were both not good with cats. Which, as a lot of you guys know, I had Bonsai. Bonsai I've actually had since 2009, so he's been there longer than Thor has. And that's kind of the issue I ran into, is I had to think about, Bonsai when getting a dog, because I didn't want to bring Huskies notoriously have high prey drives. So I didn't want to bring an older Husky into the house and have the Husky immediately think Bonsai is a chew toy and try to kill the squeaker inside Bonsai. That wouldn't be good, and that's not fair to Bonsai. I had a soft spot for Huskies because way back when I was growing up, my grandpa had a Husky named Moko that I really loved playing with every time I'd go and visit. I have a lot of great memories of Moko. At the time, I think I thought he was a wolf, which he wasn't. He was a Husky, but, I didn't know any better. I was a kid. But anyway, that kind of stuck with me, and ever since then, Huskies have kind of been my favorite breed. So, on December 13th of 2013, a friend of mine had posted some pictures on Facebook of Husky puppies. And she was basically talking about how she was going to get one. I messaged her and I was like, hey, do they have any of those left? Are there any available? And she said yes. She sent me over some pictures. The Huskies belonged to a friend of hers that lived in Pennsylvania. So I kind of went back and forth on the decision. I was wondering if I didn't have time to work with a puppy because I worked. I was gone most of the day. I wasn't sure how I was going to take care of the puppy when I was gone. If I could get family members to watch the dog, because I didn't think it was fair to keep it locked up that long. I also don't want to get a new pet and then a few weeks later decide it's too much and send it back or drop it off at a shelter. That's not fair. So I was kind of juggling back and forth in that, and actually I think I first messaged her back and said I was going to pass on it. Then later on, it just kind of stuck with me, and I was like, I can do this. I went ahead and messaged her again. I said, hey, is it too late to, say I want one? She said, no, but they're leaving today, so if I did have one picked out, I'd need to let her know. So I picked Thor. There was just something about the picture of him that stood out to me, and I think at the time that his name was Andric Adler, but I hadn't decided a name for him at all yet. I actually had no idea what I was going to call him. I just, he had the blue and brown eyes, like I said, something stuck out, so I went in and picked him. The owners of the parents had their son-in-law was going to drive the pups up to northern Ohio to in-laws of my friend, who would then drive the pups down to her, and from there she would meet me so I could pick up Thor. So anyway, I talked to the owners of the parents a bit. They had just left. They told me that both of them were little troublemakers. They were full of energy. They were very mischievous. In fact, Thor had just had his first bath that day, and after the bath, he was zipping through the house all hyper, and he was barking his reflection in the dishwasher door. So he just sounded like, I kind of was like, okay, well, this definitely sounds like an energetic dog that's going to keep me on my feet and keep me busy. Anyway, so the trip actually took almost a week. They left the 24th of December, and I didn't end up meeting up with my friend till the 2nd of January. As you can imagine, that was a very long week. I was actually really excited. I couldn't wait for him to get here. I had hopes that he'd get there earlier, but it ends up it really was about the 2nd of January by the time they got there. So anyway, the day finally came. I met up with her and I picked him up. There was my little fluffy ball of energy. So like I said, at that time I still didn't have a name for him. I was juggling with some names like, I think Aspen was one, Loki was one. I don't know. For some reason I just couldn't think of a name. And what ended up happening is, of course, that first day I was telling everyone in my family about him, sending pictures and everything. I was talking to my grandma on the phone, and she said, "What about Thor?" I was like, "Oh, well, I hadn't really thought about Thor," so I said, "Hey, Thor." He turned around and looked at me. So I took that as a sign as, well, he's given his approval. That's his name. And that is basically how he got his name. So anyway, the first few nights at home with Thor were really rough on me, honestly. I was crating him at night and keeping the crate in my room, but he would cry for like 5 to 10 minutes the minute he was in his crate. He was just not happy about being in there. Unfortunately, he was a 10-week-old puppy. I couldn't really, if I let him out, he was just going to make a mess all over the room, and who knows what he would have gotten into. So I had to keep him in the crate. And during that time, I honestly was thinking almost of, contacting the owners of the parents back and seeing if I could send them back. Those are, thoughts that I was thinking at night when I was trying to go to sleep because I had to work the next day, and it was getting really, really rough. Luckily, those days, it only lasted a few days, under a week. And I think one other thing that helped is I ended up moving his crate next to the bed to where I slept. He eventually got to the point where he would go into his crate at night, just curl up and go to sleep, no fussing at all. So luckily those days passed, and I'm glad I stuck with it. So unfortunately I don't have a whole lot of video at all of the early days of Thor when I first brought him home. And on top of that, most of the video is, held in portrait mode, not in landscape mode. So yeah, really I wasn't thinking ahead that I would ever have a YouTube channel. But anyway, I wanted to talk about some of the goofy stuff he did as a puppy that I can remember. But first off, stairs. Thor right away had no trouble going upstairs at all. In fact, he showed his knack for agility within the first week when he turned the entire first floor into an agility course. I mean, he would run up and down the hallways, up and over chairs, under tables. It was nuts. He would just get this spurt of energy and, basically the zoomies, and just would go through the house. But he wouldn't stay on the ground. He liked to go up and over stuff and under things. And he'd weave around chair legs. It was pretty funny to watch. I wish I had video of it. But anyway, back to stairs. So going downstairs. He had no trouble going downstairs. It was the way he did it. So basically, Puppy Thor would lay on his belly at the top of the stairs and slide down. But that's not even the best part. So he's sliding down, and the entire time, and you've got to picture this with Thor's mask around his eyes. He's looking you right in the eyes with this serious look on his face. The whole time I'm busting out laughing. And I think he had no idea why I was laughing. He was like, "What? Isn't this normal? This is how you go downstairs, right?" But unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess depending on how you look at it, it didn't last long. I mean, maybe only a few days, and he eventually started walking downstairs. But that's one of those memories I wish I had video of, because that would be a viral video right there. I mean, literally, it was hilarious watching him slide down the stairs. Let's see, another thing he used to do as a puppy. So walks. Thor as a puppy, he wore out a lot easier than he does now. I would give him a walk in the morning and a walk in the evening, which I kind of do now anyway. Still, but that's usually all it took to wear him out. So with walks, one quirk he had is there was certain sewer grates in the walk he had to inspect. It wouldn't necessarily be on a route. He would want to walk over there, and he had to sniff and make sure whatever was in there was still in there and not escaping. I don't know if he was worried about some mutant sewer gator coming out and terrorizing the neighborhood or what, but like clockwork, every time we passed, he had to go check on it and make sure nothing had changed. The other thing he used to do, like all puppies, he loved sticks. Well, he liked to move sticks from one yard to another. It was like he had his own little landscaping company. And he would just, at random, sometimes he'd leave a stick in a yard for a week, and then later on decide to move it down a few, houses, and Other times he'd move it, he'd put it one place in the morning and then in the evening move it somewhere else. It was just something about that. He liked to go through and move sticks around from yard to yard. And there was sometimes, he would carry, fallen branches. Lighter branches, but still lengthwise are probably about 4 times as long as them. He'd just be carrying it down the street till we got to the right house, and that's where he would drop it off. When Thor got a little older, got up to date on his vaccines and everything, we started going to the dog park. And that is where he met his first little girlfriend, Maple, who was a little German Shepherd puppy about the same age. Maple's parents were really nice. We got along really well. We actually met up several times, and Thor and Maple played so well together. But anyway, after a few months, they just kind of disappeared. So I don't know if they moved or something happened to Maple. But also at the park is where I ran into the H2M2 group, which stands for Husky Huddle and Malamute Mingle. And basically they're a Facebook group of northern dog breed owners. And they schedule stuff like play dates, hikes, things like that. And basically the reason behind it is so we can get all those northern breeds together where they can play with each other. Because northern breeds have their own style of play. And if you're not used to it, it can come off as kind of vicious, even though they're not being vicious. But they're just very vocal. They show their teeth a lot. They play a little more rough. And the funny thing is usually the other dogs understand it. But then it's the owners that freak out and they think that, your husky's trying to kill their lab or something, even though the lab's wagging its tail and playing back. But anyway, it just makes it easier to where, like-minded dogs can get together, play in their play style, and, everyone there knows that they're playing, no one's in danger. But yeah, the first time he met them, I think he was about 3.5, maybe close to 4 weeks old, or not weeks, months old. And the first thing I noticed is when we saw the other Huskies is I noticed a change in Thor's play style. Originally, whenever we would go somewhere, to the dog park, if there was bigger dogs around, Thor tended to hang around my feet or, with Maple when she was there. He didn't like to really get involved with the bigger dogs. Well, with the Huskies, you could tell he sensed something in them and he wanted to play with them. He didn't completely play with them all the time, but he kind of shadowed them. So when they would run around and wrestle as a pack, he would run around and kind of in his own little world try to mimic them. But then if they started heading back, he would instantly run back to my feet. But you could tell he wanted to. And as he got bigger and more confident, he did start joining in and all that play. But it was actually quite the stroke of luck that we ran into this group at the park, because since joining, we've made a whole lot of new friends. Thor's had other Huskies he can go play with. We have mini meets all the time on top of the regular meets. We've done 5Ks together, hikes at new parks. That's how we got into mushing originally. A couple of the people in the group, mushed with larger teams of dogs, and Thor actually got teamed up with one of the teams. He got to do wheel dog and even lead dog and did very well. In fact, the group is also how we ended up meeting Mike and Nora from Press Record. Which then later on ended up with us meeting Gone to the Snow Dogs, Creative Pet Keeping, and then starting our own YouTube channel. So really, if we hadn't run into that group, none of this stuff would have been happening. So, I'm definitely happy we ran into them. I think it's been good for Thor as well as me. But, so anyway, that's basically the story on Thor. Possibly sometime in the near future we may be adding an addition to the family, another Husky. But so anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure and hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and make sure the bell notification is turned on so you don't miss any more of Thor's videos. And we will see you guys in the next one. Hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Bye.